Hello and welcome to my channel. Again, we are here to present to you some valuable information while entertaining you, baby. And also remember, whenever I talk about money, whenever I talk about property, any of these things, just know that it's my personal experience, my personal opinions, and it is by no means professional. All right, so if you need professional advice, please do consult professional people, the professionals. All right, so today I'm going to be telling you about my experience in buying a house. How many of you have seen the advert, for the house, and they tell you it's 699,000, it's 400,000. Okay, I don't even think there's any house for 400,000 unless the person's really desperate nowadays. Like, nah. But yeah, 700,000, 800,000, 1 million, and you think that is all that you have to pay. Yeah, that was me. I thought so too. Only to find that I had to pay 31,000 or so upfront cash from my own pocket. You can imagine my shock. Like, what? And this is money that I couldn't even put into my loan, okay? I had to come up with it because I needed to pay everything before my loan could be processed. So I'm going to break it down for you, how all those costs added up to 31,000. Okay, here goes. The first thing that I had to pay was a deposit for the property, but this was towards the seller. The seller wanted me to pay 10,000 bula upfront to secure the house, just to show that I'm serious about it. And so I had to pay that. And because I didn't even have the money, I didn't have 10,000. Remember, at this time, I was building my other house. I was right in the middle of building and I had no funds whatsoever put aside to take up this opportunity. So I had to borrow some money because at the time I had to pay someone who was doing my fittings in that house. Oh my gosh, and they needed like 10,000 in that month, and I was paying from my salary. I was building that house from my salary. Every single month I had to put aside some money towards the house. So oh my gosh, I had to borrow from someone. Thank you, Lord, for that person. So I was able to pay that person at the house, and then I asked to pay in 2 months this house, right? The deposit of 10,000. So I started to pay in July 2021, and then the next 5,000 I paid in August, right? So July, August were the 2 months that I used to pay the 10,000 deposit. Okay, cool. And I talked to the guy. I was like, oh, dude, I don't have any money whatsoever, so please bear with me. I'm just gonna have to like pay in 2 months, right? So he agreed. Awesome. Excellent agent. I love that. So I got that done, got that out of the way. And then he tells me, oh, so you're going to have to pay your valuation fee and your structural report fee. And I'm like, what is that? What is that? Okay, at this point, I knew what a valuation report was, but I just didn't know that it would be required, I guess. Like, I just didn't know anything, okay? Valuation report is basically the assessment of how much a house would cost, but professionally done. They use different indicators, the location matters and the material used to build the house, and I don't know what else. Yeah, so they use that and they compile a report and they tell you the house cost this much, right? And then you pay them for that, for doing that. And then the structural report is the one that is made for assessing just how safe the house is for occupation, and then you pay them for that as well. So the valuation fee and the structural report were each 2.5 or 2,500 bula, but my agent did a discount for me. He negotiated a discount for me, so I ended up paying 2,000 bula each, so total was 4,000. Yeah, so that's 14,000 already. But the nice thing, it was spread out. Like I paid July, August that deposit for 10,000, and then the next couple of months, I don't know, I think between August and September, I was trying to pay, or I was paying the valuation and structural report fee, and then I had it done. And then when it was done in September, I then went to Gemvas, right? to submit, thinking that we're ready to start processing. And they tell me, no ma'am, we cannot start processing your application because the house is not yet fully complete. Because at the time it was what you call this thing, selling off plan, right? These were units that were still being constructed even as we were buying, even as we were being advertised to, and all of that. So it wasn't complete. Like there were just a few fittings that needed to be made, but it was indicated in the structural report that we're gonna complete this, right? That is gonna be completed. But then Jamvas didn't want to have that, and I appreciate that, because it's also a protective measure. Like imagine if they approve the sale, the purchase of the house, only to have you buy a house that will never be completed. Maybe the seller will never complete that, even though they said they would. So yeah, so I had to wait September, October. So October, that's when the house was fully complete. And there I was thinking, oh my gosh, I might be living in my house in November. Ha! Guys, I only started to live in this house in April 2022. So imagine October, November, December, January, February, March, like 6 months more of waiting, of going back and forth. Hey, I was not ready for that. Anyway, so after they told me that, so yeah, it got finished, right? And then October, I submitted. And then after submitting, they said, now you have to pay the ITC report. But that one was about less than 100 bula, I think. 100-ish bula. That was like the most affordable thing about buying a house was the ITC report. Now the ITC report is basically the one that checks whether you owe anybody anything, okay? It checks whether maybe you are blacklisted somewhere, and if you're clear, it's great. Like they give you a report and you submit that. But I guess if you are blacklisted somewhere, you owe someone something, you may have to clear that. I don't know because I was cleared. Like there was nothing that I was owing anyone, thank God. So I paid for that. The nice thing is the post office is right in the same building as Jamvas, so I was literally just doing that and then submitting, right? So I did that, and then after that, they processed the back and forth. The printing cost, my dear. Let me show you something. You see this bundle here? This. You see this? All of this times 3. I had to print all these things and make, I think, 2 or 3 copies of each. It's like they wanted 2 or 3 copies of each. And imagine how much a contract is, how thick a contract is. Let me show you. If I can find it here. I can't find the contract here in this bundle, but a contract is usually this thick. Like the thickness of my finger. And you have to make maybe 3 copies of those. Are you kidding me? And they also wanted bank statements, and that's like for 3 months, right? And it's thick. It's thick, and ish. That was a lot. So a lot of printing, my dear. A lot of printing. So printing costs, you have to account for that. So they keep processing, right? They keep processing, and then at some point there, they said, I have to now go to the lawyers, right? So the lawyers, before I get to how much they cost, I mean, if you hear lawyers, you know you're gonna pay, right? Before we go there, the lawyers now, they said they have to do a BURS report or clearance, right? BURS is the Botswana Unified Revenue Service, and I don't know what it's called in other countries, but this is like where the tax collectors basically. And so this one was a bit scary, because I'm like, oh my gosh, if I owe anything, that means, you know, I have to pay that first before I can even continue with the house purchase. So I was just like, oh my gosh, I hope I don't owe anything. I hope I'm cleared. And thank God the BURS report came back clear, and I could continue with the purchase. So that's a huge one though, because sometimes with BURS you could be owing thousands of bula. So it's a big So it's like it's nerve-wracking a bit. Like you're like, oh my gosh, I hope I'm clear, you know. But yeah, thank God, cleared, right? And then after BRS, they were like, yes ma'am, these are our fees. Actually, they told me their fees before we started anything. Okay, they set me down, very nice cozy office, and I really liked the service. It was really, really nice. And they said our fee is going to be 16,200, so 16,000 roughly bula. And I was like, wow, guys, but then the nice thing again with that was that I started going to the lawyer in December. Like the jumpers was done in December, like their part. Like they gave me a letter to take to the lawyers in December. So between December and that's the thing with this whole process. Like you don't know when any part of the process is going to be done. I didn't know when the BRS is going to be done. I didn't know when the lawyers are going to be done. I didn't know when the deeds office is going to be done. So it was really just, I didn't know even how much that 16,000 would be needed. I didn't know when it would be needed. But thankfully it was only needed in March, because that's when everything finished, hey? Because with the lawyers, I think that's also the longest part probably. But then it's also dependent on how slow or fast the people they're dealing with are, because the seller is involved. They have to sign. At some point they said the seller was out of the country, they had to wait, and also because it was holiday season in December, so they had to wait for that. And then I don't know, the deeds office also, where you get your title deed and everything, or sectional title, you know, there was also a bit of there's also some considerable time taken there as well. So I was just in the dark. I didn't know, but hey, I just kept saving, because I was like, yeah, 16,000 is steep. So I kept saving during those months, and then by the time March came, I was ready. I was like, praise God. So March came, and then I paid my 16,000. Done. I think that was the last thing that I paid for. So after that, I then brought in the paperwork, continued with the paperwork, you know, the back and forth between Jamvas, the bank, the lawyers, all those things. And then finally I went to the bank with the final letter to get my check. The check, I took it to the seller, and then they gave me my keys. Yo! Now that was the most stretching time of my life. It was so lengthy and also very unexpected. I didn't know that I had to spend that much money from my own pocket. I didn't know that it was gonna take close to a year to just get a house. Yo, I just thought it just takes a month or something, you know. And I thought the only paperwork that's needed, maybe it's just your bank statements, your ID or something like that. And then costs, nah, zero. I didn't expect any cost whatsoever that I had to pay up front. The nice thing also about the deposit that I first made, the 10,000 Bula one, remember, for securing the house, is that they gave me back 5,000 or so, just for, because the other 5,000 or so they used for paying for my in fact it must have been less than 5,000. They were paying for my water connection and electricity connection, and then they gave me the change. So that was pretty dope. I mean, the 5,000 they gave me back, I could buy a stove. I bought, I think I bought a stove and something else for the house. So that was the pretty much the only nice thing from all of that. That and the fact that I got the house, right? And so many lessons along the way. One other thing I didn't know also was that there would be levies that I have to pay monthly at the house that I'm living in, because it's an apartment, or it's in a gated community. It's a gated estate. I don't know what you call it. So you have to pay levies towards the security, towards the the stuff, security, paying for security for the premises. You have to pay towards the maintenance of grounds. Like they really keep it nice and clean, cut the grass and all of that, clean the pool, and then also pay towards the waste collection, you know. So just these services that you would pay for otherwise at your own house, which is standalone house. I didn't know that I had to pay that, but that's about 500 or so per month. So you have to you have to know these things before you commit, because imagine if you can't spare 500 pula per month from your budget. Like, what is that gonna be like now? But then I know with other locations you have to pay rates. I'm told rates are like your property tax that you have to pay to the government depending on location. I know in some areas it's not required, but then in some areas like the city and everything, it's required. So yeah, I just, you may have to confirm with that, because I'm just like I told you, a layman stuff, layman. But these are the costs in a nutshell. If there's any other cost that I left out that is involved in buying a house, yeah, I guess you'll find that out as you research. But for me, my personal experience, those are the costs that I paid. That is all that I have to share with you in this video. If there's anything else that you want to know about my process or my experience of buying a house, let me know in the comments. I would love to engage. And if there's anything that I left out that you want to add to what I said, you know, in terms of maybe educating other people, please be my guest. Add that to the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye. Thank you.